to another episode of the Herb Walk with Jessica Baker. I'm your host, Jessica Baker, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I really want to share with you a little bit of the book I wrote, Plant Songs, Reflections on Herbal Medicine. It was pretty much a labor of love. I have been wanting to write a book pretty much my whole life. I always loved writing stories. There was somewhere in the back of my mind that I was always going to be an author. I just really didn't know how that was going to transpire or what it was going to manifest into. So once I decided I wanted to write an herb book, it was really important for me that I just didn't regurgitate a lot of information from other people's herb books. For any good herb book, I think you have to reference the classics, but I really wanted there to be some new and personal information for the reader. My intention for the book was just to encourage people to slow down and listen to the plants around them. And if you want to, develop a personal relationship with these plants so that they can become friends and allies in times of need. If you've read the book or you're going to read the book in the future, you get the idea that as a child, I was a little lonely. My father was in the military, and so we moved a lot. And so loss and transition was very much a part of my early childhood. And as an adult, now I realize how much that has shaped my personality, the way I form relationships, how I perceive and deal with loss and grief. And so the book was a little hard for me to write because I'm not someone who kind of puts my personal life out there into the world. And by writing these very personal stories of loss and learning, I felt vulnerable, but also so very healing. As we know, when we conquer a fear or we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we are emboldened by it and strengthened by it. So for everyone who has read the book, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And if you haven't read the book, I'm going to read part of the Hawthorn chapter. So hopefully this will pique your interest to, if not read my book, go and drink some Hawthorn tea or find a Hawthorn tree where you live and develop a relationship with it. I've decided to read chapter 14 of my book where I talk about hawthorn berries. Chapter 14, Hawthorn, Open Your Heart. Open your heart, let the transformation begin. Open gently. Everyone wants to be cracked open. We experiment with drugs and psychedelic substances to blow our minds wider than we even thought imaginable. We play football, skydive, and speed in our cars for the excitement and the rush. We watch death and destruction as entertainment and participate in violent computer simulations until the domestic violence and world wars of our reality no longer bothers us. We obsessively check our social media status to see if we're liked, followed, and adored. For those addicted or crippled from these activities, they know what they're doing to themselves, yet they can't stop. We all hear the voice inside our heads that say, "Stop hurting yourself. You're better than this. Get off the computer and go outside." We are addicted to countless substances, excessive behavior, and social media. It is wreaking havoc on our nervous systems. When I envision a person cracked open, it is a red-faced cartoon character with his head blown open like a volcano erupting. He is not necessarily angry, but there is so much pressure, social, financial, marital, that just like a volcano, the only way to release the buildup is to explode. Explosions can come in the form of binge gaming, drinking, eating, or intense emotional outbursts. When I feel this way, I reach for hawthorn. Hawthorn has a way of cracking you open gently, lovingly, and in the timing that is right for you. Transformational medicine. The transformative properties of hawthorn berry are described and illustrated in multiple research studies, but to me, that's not always as important as how ingesting the plant makes you feel. The more I work with hawthorn, the more I notice that the herb's ability to aid with the digestion of fats and heavy foods also applies to the digestion of unpleasant truths or emotions. Hawthorn berries work on the digestion, and specifically the spleen's function of transforming and transporting nutrients, which allows for idea, to bring clarity to the shen, spirit. In Chinese medicine, there's an intrinsic connection between digestion, emotions, and heart health. The spleen, a component of the digestive system, stores the which is represented by an ideogram that consists of two characters, one for the heart and the other the musical note or sound yin. Together, the characters describe the heart's ability to express itself through sounds, thoughts, or actions. Is responsible for all thoughts and ideas on an intellectual level. The ability to study, concentrate, and memorize is governed by how well functions. Our shen, spirit, is housed in the heart and is responsible for intimacy, cognition, intelligence, and consciousness. Shen governs our mental and emotional activities, our capacity to judge and sleep. When our shen is disturbed by thoughts of bills, war, or illness, our organs begin to work harder to keep homeostasis within the body. Hawthorn slows down this state, allowing us to get into a state of relaxation, a place where we no longer need to focus on survival. Once there's cohesion between the shen and the we have the space to reflect on our own consciousness and our places in the world. Hawthorn brings mental and emotional clarity, permitting the discovery of truth as your heart and mind unwind. This connection between hawthorn and the heart are found around the world. My personal experiences with hawthorn have been beautiful. As a budding herbalist, I was only exposed to the medicinal properties of hawthorn leaf and flower. What really struck me was hawthorn for heartache and grief. For years, I religiously made tea with hawthorn leaves and flowers, rosebuds, milky oats, violets, and self-heal. I knew I needed to heal from some serious grief, as the feeling of intense loss still permeated my core. For my daily intake of this herbal brew, I began to transform all the dense energy of grief, anger, and fear that had been such a large part of my life. My anxiety greatly reduced, and I felt lighter, brighter, and free. A spark ignited within me, and I could see the world for the beautiful miracle it is. Once I started adding the berries to the leaf and flower, I noticed a deeper shift. Not only did I notice a significant difference in my emotions and visceral reaction to stress, I also felt the inherent need to truly nurture myself. The transformative properties of hawthorn berries brought clarity to the ways I was still engaged in self-defeating thoughts and actions. Shan Jia, or hawthorn berries, cleared out the burdens and bridged the connection between the shen and the Hawthorn medicine is still one of my almost daily allies for digestion, cardiac health, and my psyche. Hawthorn's song. Hawthorn's association with the heart and fire element in different cultures reminds us that our connection with hawthorn goes far deeper than we remember. The stories and lore of plants have shaped our psyche, culture, beliefs, and virtually every aspect of our existence. Hawthorn guides us back to our hearts, enlightens us to who we are, and helps us transform into our most magnificent selves. The combination of the leaves, flowers, and berries remind us to love ourselves through all stages of life. Open your heart. Let the transformation begin. So I really only read the juicy parts of the Hawthorn chapter to you. I left out a lot of the medicinal part where we talked about research and Hawthorn being good for the cardiac muscle. Because although I find all of that really interesting, and for a lot of people, they don't know that yet. But for this purpose, I just wanted to read the more spirit part of the chapter to you. One, because to me, that's the most exciting part of the chapter and the part that I find most relevant for people to want to hear. And also, I don't want to bore you with some stats and statistics that you may not care about. At the end of each chapter of the book, I do give recipes. So for the Hawthorn chapter, I'd love to share my recipe with you for the Happy Hawthorn tea. The Happy Hawthorn tea has 1 ounce of dried hawthorn flowers and leaves, 1 ounce dried hawthorn berries, 1 ounce dried rosebuds, and 1 ounce dried lemon balm. So mix together all of these dried herbs and store in a cool, dry place. Take 1 tablespoon of the herbs out and steep in hot water for 15 minutes. Strain out the herbs and drink 1 cup of tea slowly to lighten the heart and uplift the spirits. If you want to learn more about hawthorn or any of the other herbs in my book, check out my website, www.bakerbotanica.com, where you can purchase a copy of the book. You can also go to Amazon and just look up Plant Songs, Reflections of Herbal Medicine, and you'll find me on Amazon as well. If you have any comments or suggestions for other episodes of the Herb Walk with Jessica Baker, drop me a comment on one of my social media sites. My Facebook page is Jessica Baker LAC. My Instagram account is Baker_Botanica. And my LinkedIn page is also just Jessica Baker LAC. Thanks again for listening. As always, I appreciate your support. Have a beautiful day.